So thank you all for taking the time to be here today. A lot of you are repeats from our LinkedIn profile optimization training last week. So this is kind of the next iteration of that where we will be talking much more about lead generation. And I haven't changed since the last time we spoke, except that I've seen the Great Mississippi River for the first time. So thank you to Dina and her team in Baton Rouge for being such gracious hosts. I really enjoyed it. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and today we'll do kind of just an overview of LinkedIn lead generation. We'll talk about your network, which is the people you're connected with, as well as your interests, like the groups, companies, and influencers that you follow. We'll talk about actually making a connection. There are a few specific ways that we'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll dive into LinkedIn search. Like we did on our last call, we'll go through a brief overview of each of the sections here in the slide deck, and then we'll go right into a demonstration. What I did on the call this morning and what I'll do with you all this afternoon is that we'll actually, when we're getting into the search, you can call out a particular type of business that you're looking for, and we'll actually go through that specific example so that you can see firsthand what that would look like. And then, of course, we'll wrap it all up just by recapping a few of the topics that we talked about, and we'll have some opportunity for discussion about how you're already using LinkedIn search or how you're using LinkedIn in lead generation, and any best practices that you might want to share with the rest of the team. And, of course, if you have any questions throughout the course of our call, just go ahead and shout it out and let me know, except for Dina, because I can't see my chat box when I'm in this presentation, so I will be sure to switch back. And who did we have just join us today?
Kimberly from Brico.
Hey Kim, how are you doing today?
I'm well.
Thanks for joining this call too, I really appreciate it. So we're going to start with our overview, and you've seen these cycles before. I look at a lot of the things that we do in sales and marketing and just in hospitality in general and life really as a cycle. You know, we have our budget cycles, we have our sales processes that are all in cycles. So our connection on LinkedIn is going to happen much the same. So anytime that you connect with a particular person on LinkedIn, the next step that you'd kind of go through is investigating on their profile, who they're networked with, and the interests that they have. And based on that, you can see what might be good for you, and you can expand your network, finding new people to network with and new interests to engage in. And once you've done that and you have that information, your network has grown, and now you can use LinkedIn search to generate more leads, which brings you back to the beginning of the cycle of connecting with somebody. And I did hear a couple of other people ping in on the call. Who did I have just join?
Mariella.
Hi, Marielle. Welcome back.
Thanks.
And was there anybody else? Okay. I can always get that information later on in the call if I missed you. Okay, so some of our LinkedIn basics, in order to connect with somebody, you have to have a commonality, generally speaking. And there are a few workarounds for this, but generally speaking, you need to be connected somehow. And that could be, you may be able to find them if you're in the same group, or if you have somebody in common. So as an example, I've not yet met Amanda, but I do know Sherry and Janet. So if Amanda knows Sherry and Sherry knows me, I can connect to Amanda because we only have one connection between us. Whereas I have, luckily this will change next week, but I've not met Debbie in person. Debbie may know Janet, and Janet may know Paul, and Paul may know me, but because there's so much space between us, I can't connect directly with Debbie. Without kind of working that relationship or working that connection a little bit more. You can be introduced, however, so let's say I want to connect with Amanda. I can, as opposed to just sending her a LinkedIn request, I can ask for Janet to introduce us. And obviously, when you have somebody make that introduction, sometimes it warms up that relationship and gives you a better opportunity. The one trick with that is that if you have a basic LinkedIn profile, which most of us do. I have just temporarily upgraded mine for the purposes of these trainings. But if you have a normal LinkedIn profile, you're limited to 5 introductions over your lifetime on LinkedIn. So you can only be asked for introductions 5 times. You can also connect through search, so we'll view that as we continue. When we get into LinkedIn search, you'll see it firsthand. Any questions before we continue? Okay. So your network, I'm kind of breaking this up because it is networks and interests. So your network and interests include the people that you're currently connected with, and that's technically your network. And your interests are any companies, schools, groups, or LinkedIn influencers that you're connected with or that you follow. So we're going to talk about both of those sections in your profile and how you can capitalize on both of them. When you're using your network to connect with other people, you can do it a few different ways. And we talked about this when I mentioned investigating a little bit into the person. But if you are connected with somebody, you can find any common interests that you may have, the groups that they're connected with, and things like that to be able to find other groups or other people that you may benefit from connecting with as well. LinkedIn has a number of discover features throughout the profile, throughout their site as well. You can discover new groups that they recommend for you. You can find actually people that they recommend you connect with, and similar profiles all throughout LinkedIn. So as an example, Mike here, he and I have some skills and expertise in common. We are connected to a similar group. When people view him, they frequently view these other people. And then there's also a section on his LinkedIn page that shows similar profiles. So people that may have a similar position or similar experiences or locations as he does. And then you also have your second connection. So again, using the people that Mike is already connected with, I have the opportunity to seek them out because we're closely enough connected that I can ask to invite them to connect with me directly. Now, when you're making those connections, there are a number of ways to do it. So we'll talk about importing your contacts from an outside service. It's basically just taking those real-world relationships and bringing them onto LinkedIn for the purposes of lead generation. We'll talk about requesting introductions. So again, you have 5 of those if you have a basic profile. You can connect with people through groups, as you can see here. We'll go into this as well, but if there are a number of people in a group that you're a part of, you may use that as a way to connect with other people. And then you can connect with them directly, and that would be through search, or if you come across their profile, you can connect with them that way. And now to get into LinkedIn search, there are a few basic things. You can do searches based on people, jobs, companies. We'll talk about all of those and how to narrow that down. And then there are some advanced options. LinkedIn, like a lot of these other social platforms, is one of those things that has kind of never-ending possibilities. So we're going to go over a lot of information today, but there's no way that we can cram all of LinkedIn into just 1 hour. So after this call is over, continue exploring. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. And I'll also be sending out some additional readings and additional resources for you with the recording of this call so you can take it a step further. Are there any questions before we dive into our demonstration? Okay, and who just joined the call?
Hey, it's Dina in Baton Rouge. I had some technical difficulties.
No bother at all. Welcome back to the call. Nice to hear your voice.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to dive into our demonstration. I'm sorry, I'm just going to move these around really quickly. All right, so this is your main LinkedIn screen. We have gone over this a handful of occasions. If you ever need a refresher, just wander around or let me know, and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. But the first thing we're going to talk about is using our current network and interests. Now, at the very top of the page, it breaks it down for us. We have my network and interests. So we'll start out with interests. Companies is a very basic page that just goes over the companies that you follow. If you are searching for, if you want to discover additional companies, it's just going to bring you into the search menu. So we'll touch on that when we get into search. But the other 2 places where you can really kind of dive in and discover is through groups and through Pulse. Now, just as a refresher of these, SlideShare is basically a PowerPoint presentation for online application. And learning is lynda.com, L-Y-N-D-A, which was purchased by LinkedIn. And they have free trainings that are, it's a membership-based program, but once you're on there, you have unlimited access to high-quality trainings and videos from professionals all across the globe and in all different verticals. And ProFinder is another tool that LinkedIn has just acquired. But we're going to dive today into Pulse and groups. So Pulse we talked about when we did our LinkedIn profile optimization because it goes over, it's where you would be able to publish your own content. But this is a good place to find other people, so you can go into any of these particular posts and see the other people that are engaging with it. And it may be a good place for you to kind of expand your network. But groups is another good place. So once we get to the groups menu, it's going to show you My Groups and Discover. So we'll start out with My Groups just to kind of touch on it. So I am in travel and tourism industry professionals worldwide. So I'm just going to click on that really quickly. And you can see that there are 255,274 members, and that is a clickable link. So I can click on that, and it's going to bring me to all of these particular members. We're going to go into how to actually make these connections when we do the next little section of our demonstration, but I just wanted you to be able to see your group pages. So again, you go Interest Groups, and then you have either My Groups or Discover, and we'll now select Discover. So what Discover does is it's actually going to make recommendations for links for you to join based on other people that you're connected with. So again, I know 6 people in this group, so they're recommending it to me. It's also based on the industry that you're in. So if you're in food and beverage, obviously you'll be getting a lot more F&B recommendations than if you were on the hotel side. Of course, there is some crossover there. So again, it's recommending it based on my industry as well as the people that I'm currently connected with and the pages that they're on. Any questions about that before we continue? Okay. One quick note that I will make about this as a reminder is that the more strategic and specific you are with the groups, companies, and influencers that you follow on LinkedIn, the easier it's going to be for you to connect with people when you're searching and using lead generation on LinkedIn. So again, if we have a group in common, if we have interests in common, if we have connections in common, it's much easier for me to reach out to somebody than if we have nothing in common. So that's why I started out with this interests section, because it's kind of priming the pump for you to be able to reach out to other people. So starting out with your interests and working your way from there. So if I'm going into my network, now that we're all set with interests, I want to move over to the actual humans that I'm connected with. I'm going to flip into my connections area. Now the nice thing is that what happens at the top of LinkedIn is it's always going to give you a breakdown of the current people that you're connected with and how you can stay engaged with them, which as we all know, when you're continuing to nurture and develop these relationships can be really important to do. So it's going to remind me that Beverly, who was our director of sales at the the Sheraton in San Antonio, has a 1-year anniversary, so I can congratulate her. But you'll also notice that it gives me connection recommendations here as well. So once I've got caught up with my network, it gives me recommendations for connecting with other people. But once I'm all set with that, scroll down just a little bit and it's going to give me all of my contacts. And you can sort this based on first name, last name, and when they were added. And you can also break it down if you want only your connections and if you've tagged them a particular way. So you may have tagged them as a client and you can pull all of your clients that way. And I'll show you how to do that later. So we're just going to do by last name. And Stephanie Allen, I think I'll go into her profile. So Stephanie, of course, is our corporate director of, or rather a regional director of sales and marketing down in the Baton Rouge area. So when I'm connected to her on her profile, the first thing it's going to show me is people also viewed. So people who have seen Stephanie's profile have also viewed these people. So again, this is a potentially really good way for me to find other people I might want to connect with, because if I have an association, board member for an association, if I go to their profile page, in all likelihood, people have been looking at them. They might have also been looking at other members of that association or like associations. So if I scroll down a little bit farther, it's also going to show me what I have in common with Stephanie. So any companies, any groups, skills and expertise. And again, this is a great way both to engage with people that you're already connected with, and also to give yourself some information about a potential lead. So you can see that you have skills and expertise in common. There may be a company that you both follow. There may be a group that you're both involved in, and that gives you some additional dialogue for when you're reaching out to them directly. Hey, I noticed that you're in this particular group. Did you see the most recent discussion about this? By the way, if you have any questions about this particular event that you've got going on, I'd love to talk about it further, just as an example. And then again, it does give you people similar to Stephanie as well, just below that. So particular people, the headings that they have, and it gives you that connection option right there. And if you want to, at any point, you can just go into their profile. So again, Nancy Clayton, I'm not connected with, but it's going to do the same thing here. So people also viewed, how we're connected, things that we have in common, and people that are similar to her. Was there a question in there that I missed?
No, I just noticed Alice Hotham. She was with our old management company. Someone on the right.
Cool. Neat. So then if you continue scrolling down a little bit farther, it's also going to show you the groups that they're a part of. So this is really helpful, again, if you are trying to reach out to a particular market. If somebody's already in that market, they may be involved in a group that would be good for you to be involved in. So the travel review, I'm just going to go ahead and join that group. Some of them give you the opportunity to request to join. So it brings me back to my group page, so I'm just going to go back to her profile. So it's going to give you the groups and the companies that she follows, and then any influencers. So again, these influencers are more visible people on LinkedIn that are publishing their own content on LinkedIn Pulse. So Arn Sorensen, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, those are all LinkedIn influencers. And the schools that she's associated with as well. So I can follow any of these, and then it gives us one other thing that we have in common. Are there any questions before we continue? Okay, so we've talked about our interests. We've talked about how to discover groups. We've talked about viewing a contact or a potential contact profile to get additional information. Now we'll go into actually making those connections. So if I go back to this little section up here that says My Network, we just viewed our connections. We can add connections as well, and this is what we're going to go into quickly to import our contacts. Now, the one caveat to this is that if you don't have a person, if you're using Outlook as an example, and you are using the remembered email addresses and you haven't saved somebody as a contact, this won't work. So you want to make sure that you are regularly adding people, pertinent people, to your contact lists on your email provider. The other trick with this is I'm not quite sure if there are any security settings in some of the email service providers that some of the systems use. Like, I'm not sure exactly, Debbie and Jennifer, how it would work with your Hilton system out in OKC, but it's certainly worth it to check if those would interface properly. But you can do this both for personal email as well as your professional email and bring your contacts in that way. And I won't go through the process, but what it's going to do is you'll put in your email address. It'll ask you to log into the service provider. And then once you've logged into the provider, you just OK, and it will pull the contacts through. And it's automatically going to match it up with any profiles on LinkedIn. So if anybody has an active profile on LinkedIn, their profile will appear, and you'll be able to ask to connect with them. Then it'll bring you to a page where it'll say, we didn't find LinkedIn profiles for these people. Would you like to email them and ask and invite them to join? And you don't have to do that, but at the very least going through and seeing if you can draw any of your additional contacts that you have in the outside world to LinkedIn is a great opportunity. And again, to reinforce this, the reason why we would do that is that the more strategic we can be with the interests and network that we have, the easier it is for us to make connections when we're using LinkedIn for lead generation. So again, using your current network is a great way to increase your lead generation abilities. So that is how you would import your email contacts. One of the other things that you can do is through groups. So we're going to go back to that interest section into groups and see how we can connect with people that way. And this is where this happy little workaround kind of works. So my most active groups, I'm just going to go into digital marketing and see what we've got. And there are 977,019 members. Now it's going to give me, these are people that I'm already connected with. So it's giving me just a little email inbox, a little email option there to send a message. If I find somebody that I'm not connected with, so Jason Rowe, I don't believe I'm connected with him. So you can hover over their name, and it's going to give you just a quick snapshot of their profile. He is a second connection, not a first connection. And I can message him or I can view his profile. So if you message them, you can say, hey, I saw that we're in the same group together. I'd love to connect. Please don't hesitate to find my profile. Or you can ask any particular questions, whatever the case may be. But I would like to go in and view their profile. So you do have the option to connect right here. And again, I can go through his profile and see how we're connected. I can ask Paul for an introduction if I'd like to. There are some things that we have in common: interests, causes, animal welfare, arts and culture, education, skills and expertise. And this all harkens back to when we talked about the importance of including this information on our LinkedIn profile when we're optimizing it, because it gives us more in common with that particular person. So this is that in action. So you can go through their whole profile. I can see people similar to him, any of the pieces that he's published or shared, all of his jobs, any courses that he's taken, any groups that he's a part of. Now, it's unsurprising that he's got such a good LinkedIn profile because he is a hospitality MBA focusing in digital marketing, so that makes sense. I can connect with him right here if I'd like to. And when you hit the connect button on a person's profile, it's going to ask you how you know them. So the little workaround for this is that if you haven't done business together, because it's going to ask you what company you were with when you did, if you didn't go to school together, if you weren't colleagues at a particular time, you can say friend. Friend is a little workaround you can use very sparingly. Generally, I would only do it in the case of if I'm connected with them in a group. And again, you want to find the commonalities. Perhaps there's something intriguing on their profile that you have read, or a piece that they published and you'd like to connect about that a little bit more, or a project that they just worked on. If you're targeting a particular market, you may already know that they just had a major company anniversary, or they just planned a major event, and you can say, hey, I was in Detroit while you were doing your, the North American International Auto Show. I loved the displays that your company put up. I'd love to be able to connect. We're part of the same group. So again, finding those commonalities makes that connection a little bit easier. Are there any questions about that? Okay, so this kind of tackled two pieces for us. That's connecting with a member of a group. We also saw how to request an introduction back on this page. So you go to a particular person's page, we're second connections. Once I go to their profile, it's going to show me how we're connected, and I have the opportunity to ask a person for their introduction. And I can see who else I'm connected through. So these are the other people that I'm connected with to that person, and I can ask any one of them for an introduction. And then, of course, we did also talk about connecting with them directly on their profile by hitting the connect button. Now, there's a workaround for that as well if you don't want to message them directly or have to say that they are that you're connected through work or anything like that. There are some other workarounds to be able to connect without having to personalize that messaging, and we'll show that in just a moment. So that kind of wraps up connecting with people, except for that one little opportunity there where it shows where you can just connect with somebody and you don't have to personalize the message. But are there any questions before we go into search?
Yeah, I've got a quick question. Where you went in and you clicked on friend, even though you didn't know him, why would you use other? Or when would you use other? Because if you weren't a friend, I would think other, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, let me show you the difference. You can use that as well,
okay.
But you have to put in their email address.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So if you know their business email address or you know the email address that they would probably have on their LinkedIn profile, that would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that information, if this is kind of like a cold contact,
right.
you wouldn't be able to do that. Now, again,
okay.
I do want to say you want to use friend sparingly. I wouldn't connect with a potential client really unless you really do have a lot in common with them, if you're in some of the same groups, if you've seen them out and about. You don't just want to, it really should be for people that you know.
Okay.
Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then the workaround for that, if you aren't ready to connect with them and you don't want to say that you're their friend, you can just message them and start a conversation that way, and that's certainly fine. So now we're going to get into search. Search is really easy to find. It's just up here at the top of the page. You can type in anything you want. It's automatically going to search for everything, but you can break that down if you want to search specifically for people, jobs, companies, whatever. I generally stay pretty basic right off the bat and type in just whatever it is that I'm looking for right in the search bar and narrow it down from there. So I'm just going to type in, I had already done recent searches, so I'm just going to type in Adam, just to give you an example of what it appears like when you are doing a search and you see people. So it's going to show me all my first connections, and you can narrow all of that down. You can get rid of all and select second connections, group members.
Emily?
Mm-hmm.
Emily? One, Adam says hello. Two, tell him he's got the wrong job on.
Yeah, I know. I noticed this earlier. I meant to email him and give him a hard time for it because he's not an FOM at the Henry anymore.
Yeah, please do.
I will.
Okay.
So, yeah, and tell him I said hello too.
Okay.
So if I'm looking at my second connections and group members and things like that, I have the option right here to connect with them. So again, if I hit the connect button, it's just going to automatically send the invitation. But if I wanted to find them out, if I wanted to personalize that introduction message, I can go to their profile and hit the connect button, and then it will give me the option to personalize that messaging. Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not on their profile and there is a connect button there, it will automatically send an invitation without you needing to personalize it. So it's kind of a workaround for our salespeople if you don't want to have to say that you're a friend. If you know the person's name, search for it here in the search bar. A whole bunch of people with that name will pop up. As long as they're a second connection or part of a group, you can just hit the connect button and you don't have to worry about saying that they're a friend or anything like that. Okay, so that is kind of just a little taste of search. So we can start as we go through. We'll go through the basics and things like that. And all of your search information appears here on the left-hand side. At any point, you can hit the advanced button, and it gives you the full search information. So if you're looking for a particular keyword, if you're looking for a particular company, a title that they may have, a school that they may be a part of, it's going to give you kind of all of that advanced information. Is there anything in particular that one of you wants to look at? So is there particular market that you're looking for, and we'll go through a few searches. I'll give almost all of you a chance. I think we might have enough time to have all of you pick a search.
Okay, I'll start. This is Debbie. Here's a fun one for you because we host many, many world horse shows. I want to know all the horse trailer manufacturers. How about
okay. Horse trailer manufacturers.
Yeah.
In your area or globally?
Well, globally, because these are all
Okay.
world horse shows. So these would be vendors coming in because they do big trade shows.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in, these horse shows are for 10 to 14 nights. So I want to try to, and I would think if they come for one world show, they're going to come for another. So it might be multiple stays for some of these vendors coming in for overnight accommodation.
There are a couple of different ways that you can tackle that. When you're dealing with a market that is global and really large, so the Henry deals with this in the same way when you're talking about automotive manufacturing. That is not a small industry, and there's a lot of overlap. People who are doing horse trailers are probably doing other automotive things, and you may not just be able to say horse or equestrian trailer manufacturing and like bingo hit everybody. One way
what
to
about
do
if you
that.
had it just in? What if you did just North America? I mean, it doesn't have to be outside of the country. There's enough manufacturers, I think, within the United States.
Yes, yeah, and you can narrow it down that way. But one other way to take it is when we talked about using our current network, you may also be able to find a company that does that. So if you have an idea of a company that does that, it'll give you some of the other companies that do similar things. So we'll take it in both directions. We're going to start out by doing manufacturing. So let's look for equestrian manufacturing or horse.
I'd say horse trailer. HORSE.
Oh, sorry, hours. Okay, so you'll notice that I put horse and manufacturing. And the reason why I did that, and I'll show you right here, is LinkedIn utilizes the Boolean search strategy, which means that you can qualify things by using and, or, quotations, parentheses, and not. And this is the same as if you were searching on Google. You can do a quotation search for Henry Dearborn, and anything with Henry Dearborn exactly is going to come up. It won't be like Henry Ford and his wife have a home in Dearborn. That won't come up. So I'm going to email this after our call so that you can print it and keep it with you, or just kind of have it available. But that's what I was just doing there. So horse and manufacturing. So this is going to give me anybody that has manufacturing and horse in their profile. So this is the Shadow Trailer. Third connection, horse trailer manufacturing at Shadow Trailer. So I want to keep an eye on Shadow Trailer because that would be cool. So I'm going to search for that probably. But I also have an engineering administrator who's currently manufacturing engineer at NHK Seating of America. And he also is currently at Forever Acres Horse Farm and Forever Acres Horse Sanctuary. So maybe that would work. We also have GM manufacturing at PT White Horse Ceramic. That's not right. That's not going to work. Black Horse, probably not going to work. Horse Show Judge, that potentially would. Manufacturer of head of herd, horse, and pet products. Cool. That's neat. I'm going to start out, though, with Shadow Trailer. So this is a horse trailer manufacturing and trade show. And this should be a company page, but it looks like they built it as a personal page. But it's also going to, again, show you how you're connected. Any people who also viewed this, so I have site director at Galvanized. That seems like it might be cool. We have managing director at Rowville Horse Trailers, so that would be great also. Owner at Montana Horse Trailers. So again, it's giving me all the people who also viewed this, and I may be able to connect with them that way. Now, of course, Debbie, you're going to have a better time connecting with these people in these industries because you have already you have more strategic connections in the equestrian field than I do, living in Florida. So in all likelihood, you'll probably be able to connect with them much more easily. But you do have the opportunity here to send InMail to this person or to connect with them, and you can say, we've done business together. You may be able to search to see if she was at one of the shows that you had been at recently, and you can connect with her because you saw her at the show. And again, you're going to do the same thing. So we have people also viewed, ranch manager, co-owner at J.A. Freeman Cattle Co., construction coordinator, similar people is Valley Equipment Leasing, owner at Hydrogen Booster, Lombardi Transportation, which may transport horses, perhaps, for those shows, Gracie Trucking, Trailer Connections, so I can send Don InMail. And again, it's going to give you Trailer Connection, so it'll give you any of the companies that he's associated with. And I'm going to take a quick step back, though. I wanted to click on Trailer Connection. So Trailer Connection shows that they have 1 to 10 employees, and there are 9 employees on LinkedIn. So now that I've seen him, I can see his company, I can see the other people that are connected through that company, and I may be able to find them that way. Does this all make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Any other questions or any other ways that you want to dive into this particular search?
Oh, that's a good start.
Okay. So I'm going to take it one other little way. Let's do horse trailer. So I'm going to do horse trailer. I want to do a search for all, though, not for people. So I'm going to do horse trailer, and I want to do a location. So I can look for things specific to the Oklahoma City area. And you can also choose a current company or an industry. So if you know that manufacturing, that's not giving me anything good. And I'm going to do horse trailer in parentheses so that it is, or in quotations so that it's exact. So again, it's going to give me all of the people that have that specific information. So LinkedIn member, horse trailer saleswoman. That's an interesting thing to have on your business card, right?
Yeah.
Merho horse trailers, Transwest trailers. So this is giving you, again, a lot of companies that you may want to investigate a little bit further. Horse Pro trailers, Iron Horse Trucking, probably not. And you can go as many pages as you want to kind of find more information. And it's always going to try to give you the people that you're most closely connected with first. And then it'll kind of work its way from there. So Human Resource Manager at Featherlight Trailers, manufacturer of horse, stock, car, recreational, and utility trailers. So we may want to look into that a little bit more.
You know what I'm thinking, as I see you doing this, and there's all these multiple trailer companies, is maybe go into the different associations first of the World Horse Shows, like our World Quarter Horse and the Morgan Horse, and then maybe on their sites find some of the horse trailer companies that are, maybe sponsors of the show, and then go into LinkedIn for those specific companies. And then at least they are associated with those world shows instead of going here and finding some that don't have anything to do with them. I don't know. I'm just thinking that might be
with those particular horse shows?
Yeah, like if I went into the American Quarter Horse Association, and through their site I could find some of the sponsors that are horse trailer companies, then go into LinkedIn to that specific horse trailer company. Then you're getting a little bit more defined. You already know that's a horse trailer company that's associated with that world show.
Yes. Yeah. So again, maybe, like I said, because it's a global industry, sometimes going in based on a particular company helps open it up to other things. So searching for the North American International Auto Show may give you a better idea of the manufacturers that present at the show. Same for you, the American Quarter Horse Association may give you some more information to then be able to apply to these searches.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, it still did give you a lot of company names as a kind of jumping off point. And it may be that they are considering growing and being at the American Quarter Horse Show, and perhaps you're the first company to reach out to them to say, hey, when you say we have these rates available, and you're top of mind when they end up coming to the city.
Right. So, that makes sense.
So what else? Now that we've gone through horse trailers, what's next?
Is there a way to search interests, Emily? If somebody has an interest in something? You know how, like, last week you kept saying that you can list your interests and it's a way to connect to somebody? We'd like to search for, like, Detroit Tigers fans.
Okay, that's a little bit harder to do. The only reason is that LinkedIn is much more professionally based, so you won't see as many interests like that. However, the interests that we're referring to are groups, so I'm going to get rid of American Quarter Horse up here. And I can search for groups in Detroit. I can even search for Detroit Tigers, if I was spelling that right. So it's going to give me, I'm searching for people, but let's see if I can do groups for Detroit Tigers. So it's going to give me tiger groups. So always a tiger. If you like Detroit Tigers, this gives you, so it does give you some of the groups that are associated with any Tigers fan, so always a tiger. Now, it may be beneficial if you're trying to tap into these groups, these more specific interest groups, so always a tiger. You may be able to engage in that group, and when you have a particular rate available for a popular upcoming game, you can share it in that group, and that would be relevant to that group. Does that make sense? So,
sorry about that. I had the mute. I had to find the
unmute. No bother at all. You're usually so on top of it. I'm not worried about it if it's a couple seconds delayed one time. So this is a closed group, so you can ask to join. And being a sales manager in the area, of course, I don't foresee that you generally ever have any difficulty with that. If you like the Tigers, stay connected with fellow fans and get the latest info on news, games, highlights, players, and more.
We don't have any fans.
And you can always go through and discover as well, or search those groups as well for that same sort of thing. So if I'm looking for groups, I may just search for groups in Detroit, and it's going to give me everything that's in that area. And you can always do, you can always search, if you're doing like a global group, you can search more specific information as well. So that's more of a leisure thought process. What else? Who else is searching for stuff? What are we using LinkedIn lead generation for? Or what do we want? What business are we trying to generate right now?
I'd like to look for Midwest associations.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to do a search for all, and we're going to choose associations, or just association. Now you can break this down quite a bit because you may be looking for a particular area. So you can add as many areas as you'd like to. So what states, perhaps, or regions are you looking at?
Specifically the Midwest, so Illinois, Indiana, but like I want specifically Midwest, so not like I'm not looking for like specific like Illinois associations. It would be like a Midwest association.
Okay.
So probably like Chicago, Indianapolis would probably be the locations of those, but I don't know that for sure.
That's okay. We can search, and we're going to add multiple. So we're going to choose Chicago and Indianapolis. Are there any other cities that they would be generally based out of?
Possibly maybe Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, we can go with those for now.
Okay. Now, the first thing that it's going to give you, there we go. Took me a second to think of where we were looking. The first thing that it's going to give you is, well, the first thing that it's giving me here is all of the jobs. So I'm going to see if I can narrow that down because I don't just want jobs. I'd rather have people. So this is going to give me international associations, and now I'm going to do my location search and see if that doesn't narrow me down a little bit better.
Okay.
So we're searching Chicago, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis for associations. So the first thing that this is going to give me is just very generally association. So anybody that has association in their title. Now I can narrow that down if I want to be more specific and look for a Midwest association and just redo that search. However, you can also do other things. So let's say, for instance, is there a particular type of association you'd be looking for?
Something in the medical field.
Okay, so then in that case, you can search it. You can do industry, and you can do medical, hospital, and healthcare. So now it's going to show me anybody within the medical profession who has association within their profile.
Okay.
But you're looking to bring in association groups, correct? So you'd be looking to bring in like the American Dental Association or whatever?
Yes. Okay.
So you have the opportunity then to be more specific with a company once you find something. So currently National Medical Association at National Medical Association. This is an association receptionist and member liaison. So this is perfect because this person is a member liaison at the Emergency Nurses Association. So now you know that you have the Emergency Nurses Association as an association you may be able to look into. And you can be more specific with your association. So perhaps you're looking for association president or association liaison. You have senior contract specialist at American Hospital Association. Chief Operating Officer at the Illinois Hospital Association, which is fantastic if you're looking for stuff specific to Midwest. Information Specialist at the American Hospital Association. So again, the other trick with this is that once I go into this particular person, because they're associated with this particular organization, so they're part of the American Hospital Association, I can now go into that company, follow that company to see what they have going on, but I can also see any of the other people that they have listed on LinkedIn. So again, it's now outside of my primary search, but it's bringing me to everybody who's part of that association. Do you see how you kind of follow that search?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back just a couple of pages because let's say, for instance, this is a search I want to be doing on a pretty regular basis. You can actually save the search using the top right-hand corner right here. Pick the title, how often you want to get alerted about it, And you don't have to get alerted at all. It can be never monthly or weekly. And you can make any changes to it. So you can save up to 7 people searches. And it depends on if you pay for an upgraded LinkedIn profile, you can do larger searches and save more of them. But if this is something you're doing on a regular basis, then it's a good idea just to go in, because then you can kind of, languish in hunting through these different contacts and always come back to the search that you've saved and run that search again. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. What else? Now that we've gone through association, so again, we've narrowed things down by location. We've narrowed things down by industry. We've narrowed them down by the title and been able to find people that are part of another company. We've been able to search through groups. What other sorts of business are we trying to bring in right now? Nobody's bringing in business. What? I don't believe it. All right. Well, you're off the hook.
I was going to ask one if you should find another example. Universities. So,
okay.
I guess universities in the Metro Detroit, so Wayne State, U of M.
This is a good one. We actually did this with the Renaissance in Allentown earlier today. So there's 2 ways that you can do university searches. So the first is actually in My Network. You can find alumni. And it brings up a different little search for you, but you can change the university. So let's say we're going to go down here. We're going to search for Wayne State. So it's going to give me Wayne State University. And it's going to show me all of the students and alumni from that organization. So it'll show you any people that you're currently connected with, or how many people that how many connections you have in common. So this is a good way if you're trying to work with a particular alumni association. You can see any organizations that they're currently a part of, if they're engaged with school. If you know that their reunion year is going to be coming up, you can reach out to them that way as well. So that's one way to reach out to the universities. The other is to go through the company's way, which we had before. So if I'm looking for a company, I can choose a university. And I'm going to do location specific. So Greater Detroit area. It's giving me companies, but I can also change it to all and kind of look for any people that might be part of the university as well. So it's still looking for a university. I want to, again, do Detroit. And it's giving me everything. Why is it searching for jobs? I don't want jobs. I want all. One more time with feeling. So I'm going to do Greater Detroit area, but you can also choose industry here. So I may do education. Higher education is, of course, going to be all of my universities. So it's giving me jobs, but I want to do more. So I'm going to go into my advanced search and see what I can find here. So instead of it being in the keywords, I'm going to choose it in the company title. I'm going to do, what's the zip in downtown Detroit?
Let me Google that.
You can also do lookup, and it'll give you that same thing, because I'm bad at that.
I don't think they've got the same zip code as we do.
That's fine. 48226. We'll just pick one.
Oh, they do.
That's ours.
That's our zip code.
Woohoo! So we're going to do within 75 miles, just because, you know, Grand Rapids isn't that far away. So it's going to give you, right now it's still giving me all of my jobs. I don't know why it's doing that. That's not what I want. But I'm going to search for people. So now it's going to give me all of the people with university, but if I want the company to be current, it's going to give me everybody that has a current company with university in the title. And again, I want to change the industry to education. And it's going to narrow this down for me. So I have accounts payable management, shared services center, U of M, professor at Madonna University, director of college and business career center at U of M, career counselor at U of M. Is there a particular role within the university you'd like to see?
Well, probably, usually it's a lot of times like the administrative assistants who are doing a lot of the planning.
So this is currently administrators at a university. So administrator at U of M, database administrator at U of M, administrator at U of M, program admin at U of M, chief department admin, systems admin, web content admin, network admin. Woof! Lots of admins. There were a lot of cakes and balloons going out on all around U of M on Office Administration Day.
And then down below, it looks like you can pick like by university. So if I just wanted to look one day, if I specifically.
Now the trick with that when you're looking for school is that it's going to give you the school that they went to, not the school that they are working with.
Yeah, if you scroll up a little bit though, I thought it said company, and then it said.
Yes, that's correct. So if you're looking for a specific company, if you want to only target Wayne State because it's downtown, then you can do that. So lead systems admin at Wayne State, admin at Wayne State. Now, again, you can do the same thing that we did before. And now I'm connected with her through a group, so I can connect with her directly. We don't have any people in common, but because we're in the same group, we can connect directly. But again, let's see, we'll go through Felicia, because she's an administrator at Wayne State. So I'm going to go to Wayne State University and do a search there. So you can, again, go and see all the people who are connected. And if they've had this as a role in their organization or a role in their profile, then you see them that way. Does that help narrow it down for you?
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. And again, you can save any of those searches. So that kind of goes through everything. We did our search basics. We looked by location. We did some advanced options. We learned about the Boolean terms, and we learned how to save the search. So these two resources will be coming out to you after our call, the Boolean search tips, as well as the Getting Started with Social Selling on LinkedIn. It's a pretty extensive document. It goes over the value, some case studies, and some best practices that you can use to go through. And then at any point, if you ever felt as though you did want to upgrade your LinkedIn profile, usually that will appear right here on the right-hand side where you would have the option to upgrade your profile. You can also do that from your account and pick whichever account type that you like. And it is relatively inexpensive, all things considered. If you're driving a fair amount of revenue from leads generated on social, then $50 a month for a profile doesn't seem like that much if you're bringing in a fair amount of revenue for it. Okay, so are there any questions before we wrap up? All right. So as a reminder, there is a cycle. When you've connected with somebody, take that connection, do some investigation, find out what interests and other people they're networked with, and which ones will be beneficial for you to connect with. Connect with those, and then do a LinkedIn search or search through those groups to find other people you might want to connect with and start the cycle over again. Be strategic about the interests you're engaged with. The more that you're looking for equestrian and manufacturing related things, the easier it's going to be for you to find those horse trailer manufacturers later on down the line. Same if you're looking in higher education, start engaging with those groups associated with those schools, and it'll be easier for you when you're trying to find those school admins later on down the road. and use your current contacts, both offline and online, to generate those leads. So go to their profile, see what you have in common, find the other people that are like them, and take those offline contacts and bring them online as well. And as I mentioned, those 2 additional resources we just viewed will be available after the call. I'm going to send them out right after this call is over with the unedited recording link that will be available to you. And then, of course, this will also be recorded. It's been recorded, and it will also be edited and uploaded for unlimited viewing, because I know that's what everybody wants to do over Memorial Day weekend, is rewatch Emily's training on LinkedIn lead generation. just binge watch all of them. Netflix just raised their prices, and I never will. So, okay. So now, if you would like to take another few minutes, I know we started just a couple minutes late, but if you wanted, how have you all been connecting on LinkedIn previously?
I don't understand that question.
How have you been using LinkedIn before, and if so, how?
Oh, my answer for me is no.
Okay, that's fair.
I've just used it to connect with people I've worked with in the past, people I went to school with, really just connecting through people I've met, and then other industry professionals as well that I've met at events.
Cool.
That's kind of like me too. I've just gone in to just kind of build a base through, the more you connect with people, the more people it says people you may know, and you find more people that you know, and you're connecting with them, and trying to just, like I said, build a base right now. But what was it? Several months ago, Mariella was able to go onto LinkedIn and actually got a piece of business, and then today, before I thought for our Catering Power Hour, we've been trying to use LinkedIn, and Tracy, who's off today, but this week she's gotten 2 pieces of business through LinkedIn from people that have used this before, small meetings, but yet, it's bringing in revenue. So
awesome.
LinkedIn
that's
working.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Debbie, do you have any best practices that the team is using to make that easier?
I don't know. Like I said with Mariella. Mariella, you can tell them you're on the phone of what you did. You just went in and started entering companies that have used this before, right? And that's how they reached out to you.
I tried companies or names of the contacts that I've worked with, and that's how I have find that one.
Yeah, she started going in and just wanting to connect with different people that have done business with us before, and then she ends up getting an email from one of them that saw that she wanted to connect, and they asked her to check availability to book something, and we had availability, and she booked it.
Awesome. It's kind of just bringing it to the forefront of your mind. You've used us before. Let's connect. We're friends, and then before you know it, somebody's reaching out. Awesome.
Exactly.
Now, one of the best practices that – go ahead.
We have to leave here.
Okay.
Thank you. As
My
always,
pleasure. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You too.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
So one of the best practices that our earlier call brought up was that we were talking about not using LinkedIn exclusively. It should be used in conjunction with your other sales programs. You don't want to, if you're finding that you can't connect with somebody on LinkedIn because you're not closely enough related, that doesn't mean that you can't connect with them at all. You now have a company and a name, so you can call the company using your old school telephone that sales managers have had for, probably 100 years, and ask for that person in that role, and you have an in. They were also talking about using Noland and the other leads that they get from those outside sources. And once they get those leads in, they'll then go to LinkedIn to research that person, research the company, and find any other viable contacts within that organization they might need to get a hold of. So that even if that particular contact and that piece of business doesn't come to fruition, you have other people within the organization to associate with it going forward.
Right.
Are there any other best practices that you can think of offhand that you have used in connecting your offline processes with using the online? Mariella, it's a great example of just going in and engaging with people you've already connected with. Does anybody else have anything out there? Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, thoughts, or reflections based on our discussion today?
No, but I'm curious. With our upcoming conference, are you going to do any type of workshops?
I've been asked just to do one with Lori about digital marketing strategies.
Oh, okay.
It won't, because we only have an hour and 45 minutes collectively, we won't have an opportunity to dive head on into any one outlet, but we'll be talking about those strategies in general.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that if it comes up at any point, I'm there for the whole conference, and the reason why I'm there is that if any of this stuff comes up while we're talking about things, I'm happy to pull resources together. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I asked Paul to get jump drives because I want to be able to load files as the week goes on and send everybody home with a jump drive filled with information.
Okay, cool.
No promises on that, though, because it's kind of a tight turnaround. I was like, Paul, can we please have them? He's like, it's really short notice. I'm like, yeah, but please. So maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, so if anything comes up while we're at the conference, of course, I'm happy to kind of jump in or offer any resources. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
With that being said, thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a fabulous Memorial Day weekend. And I'll see those of you who will be at the conference. I will see you in a couple of weeks. And if you need anything, just reach out and let me know.
All right. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.